calling from a 603 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Jeff from Iowa. How are you?
Jeff from Iowa. I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm well. I specifically try to listen and call in because of the Seltzer poll, and I had actually called in 2 months ago. I'm not sure you remember. It's really okay if you don't, because she had put out her first poll, or really okay. She had put out her poll in September, and I had called in and said, not be surprised if there are congressional seats that flip in Iowa, because the September poll had Trump only up by 4.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have still been a disaster for Donald Trump. Don't heart of hearts think that Harris is going to win by 8 points in Iowa just based on living here, but it would certainly be a very pleasant surprise. And the fact that the Seltzer poll had congressional districts going for Democrats and the first district going an enormous amount, over double digits, is not surprising to me anyway.
So why is it not surprising to you? I mean, the margin of error is around 3 points, so people were joking Kamala could be up by 6, but I mean that's not likely. But what makes you think that why are you not surprised by that? Are you seeing signs? Are you talking to women who are pretty outraged about the abortion ban?
This has been an abortion election from the beginning. I don't really have time, like no one does, to go into the tortured history of how the abortion ban got passed in Iowa. One of the important things about it is it took almost 2 years to happen, because Iowa had passed a law years ago, and then I think it was 2018, the Iowa Supreme Court, which was then made up of sort of moderates, decided that Iowa's constitution protected a woman's right to choose. Then they passed the Dobbs decision. The Iowa legislature passed another law to kind of reaffirm that they were canceling it for the 6-week thing. But at the time, it was sort of performative, because there was no risk, I think, for a lot of people. So there was a lawsuit to try to get this law empowered. The Iowa Supreme Court then said that by this point had switched over to majority Republican, then undermined their own 6-year precedent and said this law can now stand. The Iowa Constitution does not protect a right to abortion. And then there was more kind of administrative wrangling. But the point was, it was a 2-year thing to pass. And there was tons of legislators in the Iowa House that were not really putting their names on this. They were sort of running away from it. Then it eventually passed, and it's horrible, and it's just abominable. The other thing too is that's sort of specific to Iowa is the Iowa governor is a kind of DeSantis light person. She had endorsed DeSantis. She went hard in on a few Republican ideal candidate type stuff, like vouchers for private schools with no income verification, no income cap. There's no price controls in the private schools. Oh, by the way, the private schools are all predominantly in the city counties, which are predominantly Democrat, which means these Republican voters are all losing money for their school districts, that are all going to these city counties that don't want it in the first place, and these rural schools are all just losing tons of money. It's really bad. It's really, really bad here. And like I said last time, the Democrat Party is really, really piss poor here. But those things matter here in Iowa. They've been in the news a lot. School funding is a really high ticket item. It is the one thing that you can count on being in the newspaper every legislative session. And it was so important. Kim Reynolds tried to pass it. The governor tried to pass it 2 terms ago. And at the time, there was enough moderate Republicans in the state house that said no. She went out and primaried to them, get hardcore Republicans into the state house. So this stuff has been ongoing, and it's been very public. And she didn't win. Kim Reynolds didn't win by all that much the first time she got elected. It took her 2 election cycles to get exactly what she wanted. So this stuff has been front and center in the news for a long time. And particularly in the congressional races, Iowa kind of self-selects its Republican voting base into like corner of the state. And the congressional districts, just by the way they're laid out, sort of, there's nonpartisan districting here, so not really a way to finagle this to get like unwinnable seats, except for the northwest part of Iowa. So these things are, the Seltzer poll is important nationally, but I think it is important to remember too that there is an Iowa aspect of this. And
it's very local.
But
yeah.
Yes. But with all that said, there's a lot of corollaries you can draw between Iowa, Kansas, and I said when I called 2 months ago that watch the Josh Hawley race in Missouri. I think people are just so fed up out here with the constant show of Trump. I mean, he doesn't actually do that much for people out here. I mean, it's all flash and no substance. There is something to be said for this poll, the canary in the coal mine, the same way it was in 2016, the same way it was in 2020, and the same way it was in 2008.
People should underestimate Seltzer, Jan Seltzer, at their own risk, the queen that she is. I mean, there's a lot of people that are saying like, I don't think this is significant, but I don't think Kamala Harris is going to win Iowa. I don't think I'll go that far. And it's like, I predicted it just to be bullish on it, just to say like, I trust this data. I trust the methodology, and I don't trust these national aggregators who are so worried about the Republicans.
They are gigantic. They are gigantic cowards. You're totally right. Yep. And Nate Silver, for all of his horrible punditry that he's turned to.
Oh, he's covering his ass now. He's covering his ass now that Seltzer came out. That's his most highly rated pollster. Right. Yeah.
And he also published, I think, a week ago about how the rate of the herding of the polls is statistically less likely than winning the lottery.
Yes, it's basically,
it was really tied, you should see stuff like at 4s and 5s, and then 2s and 3s. It's like everything's within 2.
Right. No,
The final thing is.
Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
The only thing I would say is, and this is kind of getting away from Iowa. It's sort of an Iowa thing, but it's also national. I have neighbors that didn't move that had Trump flags and signs out. They aren't out. See people with Republican signs, they put for the local races, not Trump. This nationally, not to speak out of turn, I mean, maybe this is wishful thinking and hopium, but Trump has lost the juice. There's these half-empty arenas and rallies, especially in the last week.
Right.
I mean, this is vibes. And rally sizes and signs are not a way to predict who wins. There is something to vibes. There's a reason why Obama could get 80,000 people at the St. Louis Arch back in 2008. There's a reason why Kamala Harris is filling up basketball arenas and filling up the second level of arenas that Trump can barely fill the first level at. The reason why this morning Trump was late by an hour to his rally in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I think, was it MSNBC, CNN, someone pan and said like there's 70% full. The juice is gone, and I think the vibes, they're not wrong.
Well, I agree with you, Jeff, and we'll let you go now. I appreciate the insight from Iowa, because we'll wrap up by covering exactly what you're saying here. Thanks for the call. There's diminishing returns, although the thing that I would say is the returns can diminish the other way too, as in like because 2020 election was massive turnout for both of them. So Trump could lose on that, but if the Dems don't show up like they did, and look, I think the Roe decision is one thing that would suggest that maybe they will, but the concern is that he could be weaker and still lose because people aren't as motivated to vote against him as they were in 2020. That is true. So like but Weigel was pointing out that even though that's our perception and what we're analyzing, that in terms of who people think will win, it's 50-50. So there isn't that complacency that you saw with Hillary Clinton. And thanks to Polymarket and all the stupid ass crypto betting aggregators on the election that push that perception, like Kashi no, wait, that's the cereal. Kalshi. Still dumb. Here's some footage of the emptying out or like half full arenas that Jeff was just referencing.
In 9 years, we've had the biggest rallies in history of any country. And every rally's full. You don't have any seats that are empty. You don't have anything yet. I mean, the one we had today, you missed a beauty. We could have filled that place up 20 times. I mean, that was beautiful. And the Virginia rally, did you hear about the Virginia rally? That was
Shady zoom in there.
Yeah.
Governor of Virginia. And they had a crowd there that was incredible. And then we came here.
You can almost hear the echo.
It's very hard when you do these things. It's very hard. And
the entire upper chamber has nobody. Oh my God, they're wearing the garbage vest.
Just a few minutes. Just a few minutes, depending on
So
your
we're at a half-full
definition of when
basketball
it's going
stadium.
to start. But, you know, we've been doing, I was talking to some of the people. It's sort of, you know, in a way it's sad and in a way it's beautiful. I was talking to them and I said, you know, this is coming to an end. These rallies are coming to an end. We've been doing them, think of it, for like
He's
9
so tired of
years.
it.
We started a year before. And we've had tremendous
Look at all these empty
success. In
seats.
2016,
Wow.
we did phenomenally, right? We went in,
They're
said,
leaving in the middle of him talking.
3%
They beat
chance.
traffic.
Yep.
And sort of like amazing, right? 3%. That means 97% for crooked Hillary and 3% for me. And
This is, by the way, in North Carolina.
Iowa,
I think we get the gist, but it's amazing. Great job by whoever took that footage of panning while he's saying that. That's in North Carolina. That's the only one of the 7 swing states that Donald Trump won in 2020 against Joe Biden. Okay.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.